This is episode 268 of the Seahawkers podcast. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, joined by my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
I know Pete Carroll has all his little fancy names for each day of the week, like Tell the Truth Monday and whatever, blah, 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 all the way. I'm calling it Victory Tuesday today.
We're talking on Tuesday. It's Victory Tuesday. By the time you get this, who knows what day it'll be. But, the important thing is that when we sat down to do this.
Yeah. Tuesday night, it's Victory Tuesday.
Adam's got his victory cigar working. He's got his various beverages all lined up. He's set for this evening's podcast.
Well, there's some empties here of some iced teas from when we did it during the day, the other day. But now I've switched over to the hard sparkling water for the evening and just cracked my first one. So this isn't going to be a drunk podcast. It'll be a slightly buzzed podcast by the end of it.
I don't need to get in the way of your evening activities. So this is perfect.
This is how I go to sleep. Because, if you can believe it or not, this brain's always going. It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It needs to shut the hell off sometimes.
Well, one person's brain that never needs to shut off, it's Russell Wilson, because he's got no time to sleep, and it shows by all the preparation that he puts out onto the field, Adam. And after this win over the Cleveland Browns, he's now past Dave Craig and is tied with Boomer Esiason for career game-winning drives.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. He's moving up the stat column.
Moving up the stat column, also moving up the win column. You know that stat that how Russell Wilson through 7 seasons had more wins than any quarterback in history? You know that one, right?
Yeah.
Well, part of the problem is going into the 8th season, we haven't really heard it all that much because there was one quarterback who had a pretty solid 8th season in his career. And so that number kind of looked out of reach, I think, to start the season for Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. But now he's only 6 games away from beating Tom Brady for the most wins through his first 8 seasons. Yeah,
which in itself is fairly impressive. Although, the win stat is difficult for me to really use as an argument and which quarterbacks are the best or the worst and that sort of thing, because it is so dependent on the rest of the team, the coaching, the organization, the ownership, the situation you were drafted into, the opportunities that you get, who you were when you were drafted, who you end up playing behind, or if you beat them out right away, and just all that stuff. There's just so many circumstances that go into it, but you can start to put some stock into it when you start getting into the upper levels of year in, year out winning, because that does show a level of consistency that usually the greats have that just the mediocres don't. Matt Ryan.
And Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is one of those guys on the list through his first 6 or 7 seasons who was up on that list.
Right.
But Russell Wilson has done something unique now, too, through these first 6 games. He's the first quarterback to throw for more than 1,700 yards, at least 14 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through the first 6 games.
That's an impressive start to the season. There's no doubt about it. And it's the interception part.
Right.
That's the one out of all of them, the 0 picks. All it takes, and it's a little bit of luck too. All it takes is for a guy to, have one bounce off his mitts and all of a sudden it's in the air and, you threw a perfect ball, but now it's intercepted. That speaks to the level that the receivers are actually playing at, this much maligned receiving group that everybody, decided was terrible once Doug Baldwin retired, which, when Doug Baldwin was there, they just called pedestrian. So now it must be the worst. And they've played at a high level. Not a lot of balls hitting the ground. It's been fun to watch.
When we started this year and we were kind of ranking some of the position groups, we said, okay, quarterback number 1. But it kind of feels like the receivers are maybe number 2.
That's interesting.
And is it because of Russell Wilson or is it because of this group?
Right. Now, I might have thrown linebackers in there. That probably would have been at the beginning of the season. I probably would have said that's our second.
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, that was the second because of Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. And
but
Michael Kendricks too. But,
of course, I felt pretty good about the receiving core coming into this season. I believed in Tyler Lockett. Again, I thought, well, if DK just has a moderately successful season, what a win that is.
Mm-hmm.
And he's exceeded that. Like he's playing at a pretty high level, especially for a rookie. I don't care if it's all just go routes. Like he's making them count.
He showed a variety of routes in this last game.
Sure. David Moore's come out, and once he's gotten healthy, he's shown that he's got that kind of Golden Tate sort of aspect to his game, which has been a great fill in for this receiving core. And then Jerome Brown, I mean, it was tough at the beginning of the year because of all the penalties, but really showed up in this last game and kind of brings that last bit of veteran leadership to it. And it's a hell of a group. And now, are they that great, or is Russell Wilson that great? And the thing about it is Russ has made pretty much everybody in his career look good. Yeah. Just like all the great quarterbacks do. So I'd probably give it more to Russ. Not that these guys aren't talented, not that they haven't been putting in the work, but he's he's a straw that stirs the drink.
Well, and I think you put Tyler Lockett on any other team, and he's a Pro Bowl caliber receiver still. DK Metcalf as a rookie, I think he's probably going to take a different kind of quarterback. I think he benefits from Russell Wilson and the kind of speed that he has. And the interesting thing with Metcalf, we talked about him, could he have a Doug Baldwin type rookie year? And we kind of set that as the high bar, the high watermark for DK Metcalf.
Right. That would be peak.
Yeah. And I'm not normally an on pace type of guy, but after 6 games, that's a pretty good stretch to kind of measure for a full 16 game season. DK Metcalf is on pace for a hell of a rookie season. If you measure it out over 16 games, it would be 43 receptions, 896 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
And again, when we talked about this at the beginning of the year, I said that would be a raging success.
Right. And we also said that, 1,000 yards would be, that would be pretty incredible for a number 2 receiver in a Seahawks system. Because, gosh, has Tyler Lockett even gone for 1,000 yards in his career yet with the Seahawks? Doug Baldwin, I think, only got to it once with Russell Wilson.
Correct.
So, yeah, 1,000 is kind of extreme. 896 is still pretty close. I was kind of surprised when I saw that.
That would be very close. And I mean, we'll see if the production continues throughout the season. We've got kind of the meat of our schedule coming up here in a couple weeks. And I mean, the Ravens, they've got a decent secondary. We'll be facing them, and we'll see what they do. It's going to be interesting to see how DK evolves over the season. A lot of times these guys do hit that rookie wall, though. And so I'm still kind of ready for that. And because I'm ready for that, if it does happen, which it more likely will than won't, you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to freak out and think that DK Metcalf suddenly stinks. I'm going to be like, that's okay. He's going to go back. He's going to get his body even more right to endure a full NFL season, which is much longer and harder than a college season.
So is it okay now that Michael Dixon is kind of having a sophomore slump? Are we freaking out that he now stinks? Or is this just him kind of regressing to the mean?
Look, man, all I know in my life, not every week is a winner. Like, they can't all be winners. He's having a rough stretch here to start the season, and who knows why that is. But I do know the guy's ultra talented at kicking a football, and it will come around. And you pointed out a little bit, the protection for him this year hasn't been quite as stellar as before. I think that definitely plays a role into it. And I think he's hearing footsteps a little bit. And I mean, if we want to look at special teams as a whole, like going back to this Browns game, I mean, special teams was atrocious.
Yeah.
It was atrocious. And we've had a couple games where they haven't looked good at all. And I don't know, does there come a point when you start looking at Brian Schneider and being like, dude,
you're still on this team?
Yeah. Like, maybe
it's
time for
all the coaching turnover.
Well, he's traditionally put out a pretty good special teams unit.
Yeah.
As long as they give him the right personnel. I mean, really the biggest problem has been kicker for the last few seasons. And, he doesn't go out and sign the kickers.
That's true.
It's a different Schneider.
It is. And it's still early in the season for me to really make any kind of decisions on Dixon. And if you look around the league at what other people have as a punter, he's average. He's playing to the average of what other teams expect. We got spoiled last year, and so we expect all these game-changing moments from Michael Dixon that we've maybe seen once or twice this year. you know, with him and Ugo Amadi and pinning people down or having a ball, you know, just bounce to the right out of bounds in a particular moment. So it's just something that I think we got a little spoiled. We haven't seen it this year. I'm not too worried about it.
I have one more theory with that, though.
Okay.
And that is maybe he hasn't had nearly as many opportunities to pin people down deep because the offense is humming and Russell Wilson is finishing drives. And so if that's the case, then, you know, how many times are you punting with the opportunity to pin a guy deep?
Yeah, if you're punting more from midfield and you're trying to, you know, that seems like the harder place to punt from, right?
Like right at the 50 or back in your own end zone?
Well, back in your end zone is particularly difficult. But yeah, he was in a bad spot for that one that went off the side of his foot. And I think in that moment, as a punter, when you see the pressure coming from all sides, you're thinking, okay, I have to kick this out of bounds because all my gunners now have come in for max protection, and I can't give this runner space for a punt return. So I've got to boot it out of bounds. And, you know, maybe the margin, I don't know what the margin of error is for a kicker on the ball coming off your foot. That's probably about as good a punt that I could do.
Well, okay, so you think about margin of error, right? And as good as I can do. I think of it a lot like a golf swing.
Sure.
I mean, just think about the margin of error, the minute differences in a swing that produces that beautiful drive that, you know, just splits the fairway like uprights and just rolls out there 300 yards. And the one that is a big, you know, bendy slice off the front of the club face. And I mean, we're just talking the club face being open a couple extra degrees, right? And I think that's very much how it is when you're kicking a football.
And then if you think of even professionals, think of the time when you're in the fairway and you can always, you know, get a nice clean swing on the short grass versus in that deep rough. And I think being backed up to your very own goal line, that's probably like pitching it out of the deep rough.
It feels a little like, too, and again, I don't have the stats to back this up. I haven't gone back and verified it, but it feels like the offense goes out there and it's usually one of two things on a drive. Either they get the ball at, like, say, the 25, and it's penalty, you know, screenplay, give up play, and all of a sudden we're punting out of our own end zone or like from the 2.
Right.
Or they get the run game going a little bit. Russ connects on a couple passes. And if that's the case, they get that one first down. It's going to be a score. We're going to be in scoring position at the end of that drive. It's either score or like implosion in the 3 and out.
Yeah. Boom or bust.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Seahawks in the red zone, 70% on the season with red zone scoring percentage. And that's even, you know, dropping down a little bit from where we saw them starting the season. I do want to go back, though. We talked after the game. We celebrated the win. Seahawks now 5-1 after that win over the Browns. But I wanted to focus on 2 plays, at least our 2 favorite plays, because now that we're bringing the Steve Rabel calls back from the Seahawks radio network and bringing them to the show, there was one play, especially for me, that it was my favorite play of the day. It was early on. We had the discussion about DK Metcalf and how he's on pace to have, you know, one of the best rookie seasons from a Seahawks wide receiver. And this play, Adam, was just one that I enjoyed. And it was Russell Wilson connecting with DK Metcalf.
Lockett is slotted on the right side. Schobert steps up into the line. He's going to blitz. Russ throws inside. Ball is caught. Nice play by Metcalf inside the 30. 25, stiff arms a man. Drags another man. He is pushing his way down to the 10-yard line. Knocked out of bounds at the 12. He picked up one of the cornerbacks, Randall, and literally tossed him like a rag doll. DK Metcalf picks up 30. The Seahawks run, explosive play.
You know, when you're a kid and you have like the NBA posters of whoever just dunking on some dude, that felt like the posterization of DK Metcalf and Demarius Randall. And I want that poster on my wall.
You said the return of the Rabel calls, but also the return of the Wyman chuckles. Like, I like that. You know, as DK like kind of shoves that dude aside and Wyman just, you know, that's great. That was really fun. The other thing too about when that play was going down and DK catches the ball and Randall comes up and you can see DK get his non-ball hand out, looking for the stiff arm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see Randall be like, oh, no, like doing everything he can to like, try to avoid DK's hand. And finally he got his mitt on him, just bonk, like knocked him out of the road. It was great. That was a really fun play. And it does show you the special attributes that DK has, especially his strength.
It's just one of those plays that I know is going to stick in my mind.
Right.
It was just a special play to me.
Well, my play from that game that will stick out in my mind for the rest of the year had to do with Russell's touchdown pass to Jerron Brown in the right side of the end zone as the defender is bearing down on him while he's in the pocket and just takes a lick and delivers a strike.
Russell takes the snap. Here comes the blitz again. Russell gets rid of it. Back corner of the end zone. It's Jerron Brown. He is in. Touchdown, Seahawks. What a read by Russ. Just getting the snap before the clock ticks down. The receiver's doing a dance in the end zone. And Jerron Brown for 6. And the Seahawks are within 2 of tying this one, and they're going to go for 2.
I'm so mad at the receiving corps for that touchdown celebration. I have had NSYNC songs stuck in my head ever since Sunday because of that.
Oh, whatever. I'm trying to get the lady friend a little more interested into the football, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. She also has a background in doing flash mob stuff, right?
Yeah.
In San Francisco. I'll tell you what, nothing piqued her interest more than when all of a sudden they start with routine, which I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. And she was like, oh my gosh, it's bye, bye, bye. Like she like totally freaked out. So like, number one, good on the receiving corps, making my job easier. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate that. But also too, the other reaction towards the tail end of that play, Russ gets crushed and he sits on the ground and he's watching. You can see his kind of head, like, peering up from the turf. He sees the completion, just starts pounding the turf, just in celebration, and just his energy, the way he was fired up, and the way that he's playing quarterback overall. I mean, that's the one thing that people always crushed him about, was the idea that he couldn't just stand in the pocket and take a hit and make a big throw. It's now the cherry on top of his game. He really only has one more thing to perfect, and that's the fade route. And that's it. And then he's going to be unstoppable.
And you know what? Maybe we just leave that. Maybe we leave that alone. Let that be his one Achilles heel in the game of football.
We'll just take that out of the playbook.
And I like that you pointed that one out because, not only for the fact that he was willing to stay in there for the hit, but I think earlier on in the season, there were a couple moments where we kind of got on him a little bit for not having that blitz recognition like we kind of expected him to have. And so now from early on, those first couple games of the season, I think it was probably that game against the Bengals even, where he had some trouble with recognizing the blitz. And now here he is, where there were a couple times in this game. Yeah, he didn't connect on all the passes where he felt the blitz coming. He recognized it, and then he would kind of lob the ball up down the field to where he expected his receiver to be. And the other couple times he wasn't there. One of them was due to a penalty on the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. And the other one, Procise couldn't quite get there. And there was the one for the touchdown. So even if you're only hitting big plays, because those are going to turn into explosive plays when you do hit on those. And that one for the touchdown, it nearly allowed them it gave them a chance to tie it up. They failed on the run on the 2-point conversion. But after falling down 20-6, they're back in it going into the half, down 20-18.
Yeah, and they just continue to chip away. I mean, the way that game started, it just felt like, well, the wheels on the bus are just going to fall off. And that's it. And just good night. This is going to be a frustrating day of football for me, and that's that. But never say die. This team does have a real cohesion to it, and guys that do really believe in one another, and they all, the identity of this team being Russell Wilson's team now, and them all feeding off of his energy, that we're not out of this. A positive attitude, positive thinking, visualization, and they all buy in. Including Bobby. And I think it's just a huge part of why this team has been successful this year.
Fans are starting to buy into it too, because gosh, I know that when I see the team going down by, I go back to that Bengals game and even the Saints game where they were down, It was at halftime where we're kind of thinking, okay, we've seen this before. We have that belief that Russell Wilson can bring this team back. Now, he didn't do it in that game against the Saints. He nearly did. He could have. He was close. Right. But it does instill that kind of belief when your quarterback goes out and does it over and over and over again.
And that's the type of thing that we need from our quarterback, just because of the way Pete likes to play. Right. And, with the running game and the stout defense and, your passing game being for chunk yardage and things like that, that was something that coming into the season, I just felt like this offseason, the league and the narrative and the way the national media talked, it was all about the high-flying offenses, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, that sort of stuff, right? And it's funny now that I sit and listen to some of the national prognosticators speak about football, almost halfway through the season. Oh, it's all back to, well, you got to run the ball. You got to do this. You got to do, and it's all the same stuff that we've been consistently doing for years, which is a winning football formula. And it's just funny. It's just funny to watch everybody, fall out of love so quickly with the frat boy McVay. Yeah. And back into love with handing it off, staying on schedule, stopping the run, and just finding a way to win close games.
Well, yeah, now that Aaron Rodgers isn't throwing for an ungodly amount of yards, now that the San Francisco 49ers are doing it with the run game, now the Baltimore Ravens are running the football and winning there. So, and the Patriots, Tom Brady isn't throwing for the number of yards. Everybody was freaking out for their past win over the Giants because, gosh, Tom Brady didn't throw for any touchdowns in that game.
Yeah, no, he didn't throw for any, but they scored 35 points, right?
Right, yeah.
It
and
sounds
two of
like
them were
failure.
Tom Brady runs.
Yeah, it sounds like a failure. Yeah, exactly. Tom's getting in on the rushing touchdowns. Like, that's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Were they both sneaks? They must have been sneaks.
Yeah, they were. They were both
sneaks.
Okay,
I didn't watch that game, so.
One of the things that people are talking about, of course, running the football, playing stout defense, that sort of thing. But another thing that we're starting to hear talked about throughout the league is penalties. And I found it. I found the complete list of complaints from Browns fans about the refs from this past game against the Seahawks.
Okay.
I found the full list. And
the full list?
And the good thing is...
Wait. It's getting late tonight. Do we have time for this?
There's
because
7 of them.
If I have only 7?
Okay, this is the top 7.
Good Lord. Like, I figured it'd be 15 just because Cleveland fans are whiners. And I get it. I mean, they've been on the wrong end of the stick forever.
The thing that I like the most about this list is I feel like it's ranked from worst to not so important.
Right. Most egregious to least.
Yeah. And number 1 is the illegal blindside block that wasn't illegal, the Marquise Blair hit.
Terrible call.
We can agree. Terrible call. Like, you will not get an argument from 99% of Seahawks fans on that one.
No, any rational human being that's walked the planet Earth that like knows the rule and like you showed them that, they'd be like, yeah, that was bad.
Now this one that's number 2, it was the most impactful, I think, because it resulted in a score not too long after that. And I would agree that it's probably ticky-tack, but I can see what the officials saw in this particular play. And this says, quote unquote, the phantom pass interference call in the end zone on Malik Turner.
The phantom pass. I can't even remember this.
Well,
call.
It wasn't the pass interference wasn't on the end zone, but it was Malik Turner was off to the left and he did an inside move and then went to the left outside corner. It was one of those blitz pickup throws where Russell, just kind of lobbed it to the back left corner of the end zone.
Right. Yeah. That was the fade route.
I mean, it was a good move by the receiver. I guess it was a fade to the back of the end zone, but
it was.
But the corner kind of hooks him around the waist and slows him down a little bit. It wasn't bad.
Look, and that's one of those that if it gets called, you look at it and you go, yeah, can't do that. But
right.
I mean, I get it. If I'm talking with a Browns fan, they're like, that call was ticky-tack, 100% I'm with you. It could go either way, and I'd been fine with it.
Now, this next one, I think it more has to do with not knowing a change in the rules recently, and that was the horse collar tackle on Russell Wilson, where Russell gets dragged down from behind by the nameplate. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in the past, that wouldn't have been called, but they changed it. So dragging him down by the nameplate, that also counts as a horse collar tackle. I think he just isn't familiar with the updated rule.
I was educated on that during that broadcast. I actually did not know that there was a change in that rule because, again, as I saw it in real time, I was like, I don't know. But now that I know the rule, like it was officiated correctly.
Number 4, calling Landry's touchdown a fumble. And this one I can get with in terms of you saw one of the referees hold up his hands like it was a touchdown in real time. They ultimately get together and decide what to call it, and they call it a fumble before he got to the goal line. I could see where Browns fans would be mad, but in terms of impact on the game, I don't think this had a lot of impact on the game because, well, you go to the number 5, we can group 4 and 5 together because he said Nick Chubb was tackled by the face mask on the 4th and goal, and I saw a hand on the face mask. Chubb wasn't brought down by the face mask by Clowney.
Yep.
So it's, again, if that gets called as a face mask, I'm saying that's ticky-tack.
You have to grab the face mask.
Yeah.
They could have called illegal hands to the face there.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I'd like to group those together, too, because that was a 4th and 1. The Seahawks, they go 3 and out after that. They punt out of the end zone. That's the one where Dixon's punt goes out of bounds. Then the Browns end up getting a touchdown anyway. So other than about a minute of time coming off the clock in that whole time period, I don't think
consequential.
I don't think it affected the outcome of the game.
Right.
The other one here.
Let's hear some more whines.
The one big whine. Metcalf's non-catch on the sideline to extend the drive to close out the victory.
So are they mad because it got knocked out of his hands?
Right.
Yeah. Well, the way that the rule is now on those catches, that's a catch.
Well, and his elbow was also down before the ball came out on the sideline.
Yeah. Well, minor detail there then too. So there you go.
Now, there wasn't a lot of time to review it, but
look, all right. Okay. So they whine about that. So let's whine about OBJ's catch over Tedrick.
Yeah.
Right.
I think he also got his elbow down, though.
I honestly think he did. I think they got that right. I think that was a catch.
I had to watch it over and over again before I thought, where was the body part that even hit the ground?
Correct.
But
you can see it. The left arm does seem to come down, and like the idea that like Tedrick wasn't able to like rip that out, like he had a good paw on it and like really gave it a good effort. I mean, as good as you can give. Just give OBJ credit for having really strong hands. And then you see Tedrick pop up after that and kind of look down to see if he still has the ball in his hands. He's like, seriously? Kind of claps his hands and like just trots off. He's like, well, I don't know. Not much more I can do about that.
Well, while we're giving Beckham credit, then we'll get to the last one here where he says Beckham forcing the fumble after waiting for Flowers to stand up after his interception. And I agree that it was a heads-up play by Beckham to do it, to wait for it and wait for it and wait for it and wait for it. But the officials made the right call. The dude had been down on the ground for I don't know how long.
Yeah, all right. So heads up by Beckham as in waiting for the play to be over and then like going and stripping the ball and being like, ha, gotcha.
Well, it was trying. He was competing.
I guess. I mean, that was clearly a player who had given himself up. Like, I mean, it wasn't even close.
The only thing I don't know is if the whistle had been blown, but it should have been. That's fine.
Okay. Well, even if it hasn't, like, I mean, they figured it out right quick, like what had happened there, and the officials got that right.
And if you're complaining about that one, then I'm complaining about the one that happened down near the goal line for the Seahawks, where they stripped out the football and they said that forward progress had been stopped.
Yeah, which they got that call right, too. The forward progress had been stopped.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but...
Well, I'm not saying I liked it. I mean, when I try to look at officiating, I try to be as objective as possible in the idea of whether or not I enjoyed the outcome. Like, is it technically the right thing to do? And more times than not in this game, they did get it right. It just was done with a weird flair, and it was... I think that, complaining about calls from like our side, how about the first down they totally screwed us out of, earlier
was
in the
that
game.
Jerron Brown that got to the sticks and they marked him like a yard short?
Yeah. Okay. Number one, the spot was crap. Now it's 3rd and 1 and Russ is like, okay, here we go. I got a dude on the field. Like, here we go. Like getting ready to snap the ball. And then the officials were like, they snapped the ball, they catch him with 12 men on the field, and the officials are like, yeah, except for we weren't ready because I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah, it was like, all right, fine. And then what happened after that? There was another.
It was the fumble. Wasn't it the pro-size fumble?
Yeah. Well, maybe not. I can't remember exactly what happened right after. I just remember that little sequence right there. Yeah. And Pete's having a fit, right? He's like, what do you mean you weren't ready? Get your freaking poop in a group. Let's go.
Well, I think we found the median point to where we start to get to the calls that were, kind of went their way, kind of went our way. I think the ones that we're giving the Browns fans are the legal blindside block, and you can say that the pass interference was ticky-tack on Malik Turner.
100%. Yep. I'd look at those two and be like, you guys got kind of screwed there. Like, I'll have no qualms going out and saying that, like, we benefited from the officiating in that game.
And we'll give you the Landry touchdown. And if you think that extra 1 minute that came off the clock would have been any kind of impact in the game, okay.
Except for it wasn't, and we won, and you lost, and now you guys are 2-4? 2-4. Right?
Yeah.
You guys suck.
I like how it's working out, kind of going into this final matchup with the AFC North teams. Because now week 7, they come back home to CenturyLink, and it's kind of been like a warm-up of the worst of the AFC North teams to the best. Started off with the Bengals, move on to Pittsburgh, we beat Cleveland, and now we're 3-0 with the AFC North, and now the best team in the division is coming to town with the Baltimore Ravens.
They are clearly the best team in that division. They are up and down, just over the season. I mean, we've seen, like, they lost to the Browns just the week before, right?
Right.
So they're a little hard to get a read on exactly how good they are and how not good they are. But I think one of the common misconceptions about the Ravens is that their defense is great. Like, everybody always says their defense is great. And there's been years where they have been, no doubt about it. This is not one of those years.
No, and that was one of the things I think that kind of surprised me the most, going back and watching some of these games that they've played, watching last week's game against the Bengals, watching that game against the Browns, just to kind of get an idea of common opponents and how they've taken on those two different teams. And yeah, this defense is not good. And when I look at the fact that they're 4th in the NFL in rush defense and only giving up 80 yards to teams, I don't think that's indicative of that defensive line's performance. I think that's more indicative of the fact that they've put other teams in holes, and those other teams have been forced to kind of throw their way out of a hole and haven't been in their normal offense to where they can run the ball on the ground against this Ravens defensive line.
Okay, so they've played 6 games, the Ravens.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. First 3 of those, were those against, like, NFL teams or, like, some JUCO school? Because I'm pretty sure they were against, like, some JUCO school opponent, because I know one was the Dolphins, one was Arizona.
The opener was Miami. The second game was against Arizona, but then they played the Chiefs, and that's the one they lost.
Okay.
Then they played the Browns, and then the Steelers.
Right.
And the Bengals.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Bengals are 3 of their 4 wins.
Yeah. So as far as, like, shutting down the run, I mean, they're great at it, right? They shut down Miami's run game. They don't have a running back or an offensive line or really anybody or a game plan or any hopes at all. Like, they should just quit for the rest of the year. And then Arizona, like, when are they running the ball? Never. All they do is, like, spread you out and throw 2-yard completions. That's all they do.
Well, yeah.
So you can throw out
with
2
David
games
Johnson,
right
though, with David Johnson and with Kyler Murray,
Who?
you expect the.
No, wait, who?
Don't say who. You know who both those guys are. But they finished that game with
Kyler. Who's that other guy you talked about?
David Johnson. Come on.
I don't know. Maybe the name's just too generic for me to remember. Oh, I think I remember him. He was good for like a year, and everybody declared him awesome. I remember that. And then he sucked.
Yeah. So they gave up 21 rushing yards to Miami, 20 rushing yards to the Cardinals, and 33 to the Bengals.
There you go.
So it's kind of boom or bust with them. They gave up 77 to the Steelers, but then 193 to the Browns and 140 to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Chiefs haven't been great in the run game all year, and like they gave up a bunch of yards to them. So you look at that defensive front, and they've lost some guys over the last few years, all right? I mean, you look at Suggs, and I just say what you want about Suggs, like him being old and everything, a stalwart on that defense. Then they lose, C.J. Mosley, a stud inside linebacker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I noticed with these guys right now, they have no guys with any speed on the outside to get after the quarterback. It's all power rushes. That's all they got. And I think that's going to be a major problem for them going against the Seahawks here, because I mean, say what you want again about our offensive linemen. I would imagine we get Fluker and Dwayne Brown back for this next game. And if we do, I mean, those guys, where they struggle is against speed guys. They don't struggle against power guys. Try overpowering DJ Fluker in your sleep. Okay, like it's just any day of the week. Like try getting that done. Try taking on Dwayne Brown and give him a power rush. See how that goes for you, Haas. Their secondary isn't anything to write home about either. I mean, obviously they have Earl.
Hey,
cool.
Guess who they have now?
Who do they have now?
Marcus Peters.
Wait, what?
Marcus Peters was traded from the Rams to the Ravens.
Was that part of the whole Ramsey merry-go-round? I missed that part. I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, that was all part of it because, there was a huge...
Ramsey got traded 2 hours ago? So I didn't realize that they had jettisoned Peters.
Yeah, they jettisoned Peters to the Ravens. The Ravens gave up some linebacker named Smith to the Rams. There was a center from the Browns that the Rams traded for. Yeah, the Rams made all kinds of moves on Tuesday.
So basically what you're trying to tell me here is that maybe the Rams are in panic mode?
Kind of feels like that. Well, they lost Note Boom, their lineman, and obviously their offensive line hadn't been doing well. Jared Goff couldn't even manage 100 yards in this last game. So, their offensive line hurting. And
wait, was the Browns center, was it their starting center or their backup center?
Austin Corbett they traded. So a young guy. He actually hadn't played. So interesting.
So the Rams jettisoned Peters for a backup center. Trade away two first-round picks and a fourth for a head case. Don't have a first-round pick for the next 5 years. And their interior offensive line stinks. Their quarterback stinks. Their starting running back is, basically in a nursing home with a degenerative knee. This is going great for them.
Yeah, Corbett was initially a second-round pick for the Browns. It just says the Browns got an undisclosed 2021 draft pick.
So a seventh.
I thought I saw a fifth somewhere, but still 2021. That's 2 years off.
Right.
So they didn't have to give that much because, they don't have that many draft picks either.
No, they definitely do not.
Well, I don't see their offensive line getting all that much better if an offensive lineman who can't make the starting roster for the Browns is now
that has
playing.
A terrible offensive line? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, J.C. Tretter's the guy who's starting at center for the Browns right now.
There we go. That's the guy. He's all right.
He's okay.
I wouldn't be sad about him as a center.
That's who they should have gone after. The Browns aren't going to give him up.
Okay. Yeah, you're giving them up. They're still looking at the second half of their schedule thinking we're in this.
And I think they are.
Well, let's do them a favor with false hope and beat down the Ravens this Sunday. That'd be great.
If the Seahawks beat down the Ravens, they go to 6-1, which would match their best start in franchise history.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
you probably know what you might have an idea of what year it was that they went 6-1.
I bet you it was 1982.
No.
Am I off?
No, it was 2013.
No way. 2013, you don't say.
Yeah, kind of weird. The last time that these two teams played, Adam, Seattle stomped the Ravens in Baltimore in 2015, 35-6. The last time the Ravens were in Seattle, it was 2011. Ed Dickson caught 2 touchdown passes from the Ravens, had 10 catches and 79 yards. It'd be nice to have Dickson at this point for the Seahawks, but that was back when he played for the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm not holding out hope that he's going to be back anytime soon. But going into this matchup, where's your gut level feel on this? Are you feeling confident? Less confident? Where? Just on a feeling basis. I want to talk about your feelings.
Let's talk about my feelings because, from an overall feelings standpoint, I don't feel like this team is as good as the 2013 team. So for me to think of this team being 6-1 versus that team being 6-1, now this offense is one of the better offenses that the Seahawks have had in just Russell Wilson's time because he's playing at his best level he's ever played at. And I look over at the Ravens and I see an offensive football team. Both of these teams have dynamic offenses and middling defenses. And so I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and it's going to come down to special teams, which kind of scares me a little bit because I look over at the Ravens. They have one of the top special teams units in the NFL. They have Justin Tucker, who is perfect, whether it's field goals or extra points.
Yeah, he also has been doinking a few. They just happen to fall in.
Hey, our guy doinked one that happened to fall in last week, too.
I know. I'm just saying he's not immortal.
He's not immortal, but okay. But they do have a solid special teams unit. I look at things like their down percentage, and it could be, it kind of goes either way, whether you're looking at red zone scoring percentage. Seattle has the edge, 70%. The Ravens have a 62% red zone scoring percentage. Third down conversion rate, though, for the Ravens on the year, 48%. And it doesn't dip that much when they go on the road. It is a little bit better at home, but Seattle, third down conversion percentage on the year, 37%. So the Ravens have the edge there. But then on the defensive side of the ball, Seattle has the edge on giving up third down conversions, 32% to the Ravens 38%, and opponent red zone scoring percentage, just a slight edge.
It does feel like matchup-wise, this works out really well for the Seahawks when you're looking at the Ravens offense versus the Seahawks defense. And why I believe that is you look at the way the Ravens play offense, it's really kind of fun. I mean, I enjoy the Lamar Jackson show, and I think he's unfairly panned for his passing ability. Like, he can really whip it. I mean, it doesn't take much effort. It's an effortless, like, little flick of the wrist, and like, he really does zing it.
Yeah.
And his accuracy isn't horrific. I mean, Baker is far worse in accuracy right now than Lamar Jackson. Like, sure. That's just a fact. That's the way the league is now. And, I look at the way their offense is structured, and it's a lot of read option. It's a lot of, stretch run plays to the outside. And with thinking of that, I think about the idea that our defensive linemen should be able to stand up, even though that the Ravens offensive line is a very stout unit. But we have the linebackers to flow with the speed and the length and the smarts to match up with Lamar Jackson running. You shut down Lamar Jackson's legs, I'll take my chances against Lamar Jackson's arm. And after I just told you, it's no joke, but he's not going to carry a team that way either at this point in his career.
And he is no joke, though, when it comes to slipping tackles in the backfield, though. He's Russell Wilson-esque. We're gonna be frustrated in this game where we're gonna end up with 0 sacks because we're just missing on him slipping out of potential sacks.
So Russell Wilson reminds me, and it's a tired reference, but of Fran Tarkenton, right? With the way that he eludes pressure.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson is the closest thing I've seen to Mike Vick since Mike Vick.
Yeah, okay. In terms of escaping pressure, yeah,
in his speed and his moves, the way that he moves,
he's a lot more like Vic. Yeah,
the way that he throws, he's much more like Vic. Which again will be
I just mean in terms of
yes.
the frustration factor of where you think that you have him because you're in the backfield, and then he'll just zoom, he's gone.
Yeah, you let him have the edge, and he'll take it, and it's going to be 9 to 15 yards every time.
I didn't want to bring up the Mike Vick comparison, but I was thinking the same thing watching him too.
No, and I'm not saying he's Mike Vick talent, right? Like,
just remind you of that kind of speed.
Yeah, well, just the way that he moves. I mean, you look at different, like in the NBA, you can look at different guys and be like, that guy reminds me of this guy because of just the way they move. Now, I'm not saying they have the same talent level, but they just move and play the game in a very similar fashion.
The Ravens also like to collect guys on offense with Mar in their name, and where they're all good. Mark Andrews, their tight end, he's having a Pro Bowl caliber tight end season. Mark Ingram, who's having a Pro Bowl caliber season at running back. Lamar Jackson, Marshall Yonda, their guard, and Marquise Brown on the outside, their rookie receiver.
Yeah, maybe
lots of Mars.
Maybe the rookie receiver that's having the better year than DK at this point.
Might be the only one.
Yeah, but nobody calls him Marquise Brown. They all call him Hollywood. So,
well, yeah. I mean, that goes back to college.
Well, hopefully before that.
You think?
Yeah, if you're going to have a nickname Hollywood, I'm hoping an uncle called you that from the age of 7.
I'm glad that we're going to have Jaron Reed and Poona Ford, but you talked about that offensive line. They do have a stout offensive line.
They do. And, I mean, Orlando Brown has been playing very well. I know he came out of, was it Oklahoma is that where he went to school?
Yeah, and he dropped to round 3?
Yeah, because he was fat and slow. And everybody was like, well, you can't have that.
He ran a 6-second 40, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yeah, well, except for he's super strong and he plays offensive line, so being slow is not exactly the worst thing.
Yeah. Well, Jamarco Jones fell for the same reason.
Right.
Although he was initially a second or third round prospect, and then he fell. to the 5th round for the Seahawks.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, Orlando Brown, Ronnie Staley's having a solid year. Their other tackle.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mentioned Marshall Yonda. Bradley Bozeman. That's probably their worst one.
Really? With a Montana town name?
Yeah, that's too bad, huh?
I'd root for the Bows to be better. I was kind of hoping if I called him the Bows instead of the Boz, like it would kind of rub off on him and
Bows.
he'd have like a bust of a game.
You know, going back to Marcus Peters, I am curious, though, with kind of a short week. I'm curious to see how he performs with the team. Just a limited amount of time with the playbook, how much they decide to use him on a short week.
Yeah, that would be more the thing is just how much do they want to use him. I'm not sure that corner is a place that it takes a long time to like adjust to a scheme. It's all the same thing. You match up against a receiver, you shut him down. You know,
Jimmy Smith has been out. He's been their top corner, but
yeah.
So Brandon Carr has been filling in. He's okay. Marlon Humphrey, he's been good this year.
Yeah,
he's probably their best guy in the secondary. Earl Thomas, yeah, he's good too. But I think Humphrey, he has the 2 picks. I think he has the most passes defensed among that group.
Look, coming off the injury with Earl, and number one, let's talk about Earl coming back to CenturyLink. When he trots out on that field, not one person better freaking boo him.
Right.
And we give him a reception.
Yes,
that he deserves
middle fingers
and
only. That would be the appropriate response from Pete Carroll.
From Pete Carroll. He's not going to do that either.
It would be funny, though. Come on, Pete. Double birds. Double birds to Earl.
A giant grin and I gave him the double birds and Earl took it the right way. Like, I would enjoy the hell out of that. Yes. And then they gave each other like a nice, like, dap it up hug.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would work for me, but that's not going to happen.
No. Pete Carroll won't even go single bird.
No, he'll go 0 birds. But let's give Earl a, rousing welcome back to the clink. But with that said, coming off the injury, he is not warp speed Earl anymore. No. Like, he can't stand on one side of the field and then break it up on the other side.
So how do you feel overall about this game going into this matchup with the Ravens? Does it feel like the only loss for the Seahawks has come at home this season? 3-0 on the road. I think they should get these home victories. You need to play well at home and win those home games if you want to be a team expected to make the playoffs.
You need to go at least 5-3 at home, even if you're a bad team.
You should go 6-2 at home if you're a good team, at the very least.
That's what I said. If you're a bad team, absolutely. Right. Because of the home field advantage, I feel great about it, especially with a young quarterback like Lamar, who hasn't experienced that sort of noise that the CenturyLink crowd brings.
He did play in KC earlier. Was it in KC?
Yeah, with their fake noise. Yeah.
Well, he's experienced the fake noise. So he's working up to the CenturyLink noise.
Exactly. It's a different animal. I just don't know that they can keep up offensively with the Seahawks and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I expect Russ to put up over 30 points again this week. And I think that could be a stretch for this Ravens offense against a linebacking core that can match up well with what Lamar does well.
Yeah, the only team that the Ravens have put up more than 30 points against was that Miami Dolphins team in the opener. And against the Cardinals, they put up 23, 28 against the Chiefs, 25 against the Browns, 26 against the Steelers, and 23 against the Bengals. So I do feel like the Seahawks can get to 30, and that should be enough to win this game against the Ravens.
Well, lock it up. Call it a win. It's done. Just put it in the books.
Don't even play it.
And screw Chris Berman. This isn't why they play the games. We don't even need to play the game. We're fine.
I get nervous every time we play the Ravens because it reminds me about playing them back in 2003. I'm sure I've told the story on the podcast before.
Yes, but it's a good story. Yeah.
I was at the game when Seattle lost that 44-41 game in overtime. Hasselbeck had an incredible game, 5 touchdown passes on the day. And, when you think of the receivers that he had in that game, it was 2 touchdown passes to Darrell Jackson, 2 touchdown passes to Bobby Engram, and the other touchdown pass was to Corin Robinson. There were 3 good Seahawks receivers there.
Yeah. Before Corin Robinson lost his mind and started sucking. But yeah.
But that was when he was good. And they were up 40. Well, first they were up 24-10 at one point. Or no, 27-10. And they trade
Get this right. Everybody's going to check this.
Everybody's going to check.
And they remember exactly.
They're up 27-10 in the third quarter. They trade scores. They're still up 34-17 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter. And then even in the fourth quarter, they were up 41-24 with 14 minutes left in the game. 3 scores. They were 3 scores ahead of the Ravens in the fourth quarter. And the Ravens came back to tie that game up at the end of the fourth, go into overtime and get the win.
Yeah, I
come back to a parking ticket on my car.
I can see your wife like having to wake you up in the middle of the night from a cold sweat, and you're up 41-20 with 14 minutes left. Yeah. Like, what happened? What happened? She's like, Brandon, it's gonna be okay. We're playing the Ravens this week, and we're gonna stomp them. It's gonna be all right.
She was at that game too, though, so that's.
But here's the real question: are you guys gonna be at this game?
No.
Then it's gonna be okay.
I was at the last one, though, where Tavares Jackson got the win over Joe Flacco.
Oh, well, okay. So you have a 50-50 track record.
I have a 50-50 track record against the Ravens.
I can't stand the Ravens, and I hope we smoke them.
I definitely hope that we get the win over the Ravens, and there's another person that we've got the win over on this season, Adam, and I can't wait to tell you about it after the break.
Ooh, I think I know who it is.
All right, Adam, getting into the second half of the show, and it's time to kick up the music and enter the world of someone the Seahawks have won over this season.
Na 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 na. La 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 la. Prisco's won. La 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 la. Prisco's won. Prisco has his hot takes and nothing more. That's Prisco's word.
I feel like I need like some ice cream after listening to that or something,
Adam, it's Pete Prisco's world, and now we're all living in it.
No, wait. It's Pete Prisco's world, and now he's decided to come back and live in ours.
Are you sure? Are you sure we're not living in his?
No. He's living in ours because he said...
Because as of Twitter timestamp, October 13, 2019, at 2:30 p.m., his tweet, Russell Wilson is MVP right now.
So since it was 2:30 p.m., I'm guessing he wasn't hammered.
No, it's unless he's a day drinker.
Right. Which, I mean, no disrespect to
anybody
who is.
It is a work day for him because being Sunday and being an NFL guy.
Considering the majority of his hot takes, I would guess he was a day drinker. But this is awesome. Usually I say if it happened on Twitter, then it doesn't matter. Right. But in this case, I think it does matter. Like finally, like he's been slowly coming around over the years. And I think now he's finally just been like, he's the best.
Right.
What else am I going to say?
Yeah. He had the apology letter to Russell Wilson. It's all been setting up just perfectly for this moment.
You know what I need? What I need next is for him to go to the clink, and after Russell Wilson smokes the Ravens, for him to get down on his knee in front of Russell Wilson, and Russ to take out his Super Bowl ring, put it on his finger, hand out his hand, and have Prisco kiss the ring.
If that's what we're hoping for from Prisco, I feel like we've hit the pinnacle. I don't know if we need
we can go further.
We don't need another summit for Prisco to reach.
No, I think this would be great. This is what I need in my life. Yeah, we could do like a whole Game of Thrones thing with
just
it if you want.
Just keep setting the bar higher.
Yeah.
I thought the apology letter was as good as we were going to get, but this is a bonus.
I'll take his repent. Yeah.
Well, I just thought over the history of this show and having the Prisco's World segment, this might be the last time you hear it, folks.
It might be, but I know the little flockers were excited about that for sure.
Yes,
we got a few messages about that.
Well, maybe all of us flockers can gather and celebrate at the Bucks game, because I do still have tickets for us to go to the Bucks game together, a section set aside for members of the flock. You can go to Seahawkerspodcast.com/Bucks, BUCS, and that'll take you to our Patreon page with info on the tickets.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, and you have the opportunity to, you're really missing out. Who's cooler than the people that listen to this podcast?
Nobody.
Take the opportunity, folks. Go and be with your fellow flockers at the game. We have the coolest group of people ever who listen to this podcast. You're not going to do it with a frown.
And a good group of people, no doubt, will show up for it. So if you want to join us for that, I'm going to hopefully be bringing Anthony Knockreiner. It's going to be dependent on because he's calling our high school football team is potentially playing, I think, the week before the playoffs, or maybe even if they make the playoffs. It's right around that weekend.
Right.
And he does the play-by-play for our former high school team. So it's going to be dependent on his schedule. And if he has to call it in Billings, it's going to be tough. But if it's Bozeman, I think he's going to make it.
I don't know. I mean, from what I can tell, Anthony isn't feeling good. Not going to be able to call that game. Going to have to bring in the backups.
I'll have to give him the the slow play of how you work the sickness leading up to that Sunday's game.
Yeah. Like 4 or 5 days before, you're like, man, I just feel a little off today. I don't know what it is. All right, and then you just get back into it. The next day, you're like, I don't know, man. Like, just not feeling my best, but I got it. It's fine. And then day 3 is when you bust out the phone call. Oh no, I'm out for like the next 4 days. Got
to slow play it just to lay the groundwork, work your way into it.
Viruses aren't instantaneous,
So November 3rd, check that out. Join us at the game. And what do you say we welcome some members of the flock, Adam?
Hey, it's about damn time. That sounds great.
Let's kick this off with something little MCH sent in, Adam, just for you.
Adam! Little MCH is right, and I know what I did. He's right.
He said, can't believe the only thing people are talking about after Sunday's game is how bad Baker is. Well, actually, I can believe it.
I think every time I make a pick on the Pick'em show, for the bonus, we need little MCH just bad Adam. It was another bad week for me.
To chime in, yeah. Well, it was a good week for our flockers, and I'm glad they stepped up after a couple rough weeks, starting with Nicholas Warner in for a one-time contribution of $5. So welcome to the flock to Nicholas.
Hell yeah, man. Thanks, Nicholas. Appreciate it, bud.
And to follow up a donation from the last name Warner, I also like that we got a donation from Andy Largent, who is in at $3.
All right. Now, see, Andy and Nicholas here have started a trend. So if you have a last name that's perhaps in the Ring of Honor at the CenturyLink Stadium.
Yeah. Kennedy, Zorn.
Yeah. Any
Allen,
of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You are required now to become a little flocker and give us money. That's what you need to do. It's flawless. It's foolproof logic. I don't know how you can get out of it.
Yeah, the freeloader grace period is decreased significantly for actual last names that match people in the Ring of Honor.
It's eliminated. All because of Nicholas and Andy. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Not only did you get in and become awesome little flockers, but you helped out immensely with this. I appreciate you guys' effort.
Also we got one of 1212 from Warren Salby. Welcome to the flock to Warren.
See, and Warren's the first name.
Right. Yeah. Chris Warren, who should be in the Ring of Honor.
There you go.
Will Conway in at $5. Welcome to the flock to Will.
Yeah. Uncle Will be in the Ring of Honor once he stops hurting his legs. So that's how that works out. Appreciate it, bud.
I don't know how you work this one in, but Ted Jung in at $3. Welcome to the flock to Ted.
Well, eventually we're going to have a great Ted. I know that.
Tedrick, it's time.
Oh, there it is. See, I always had all the pressure to work this in. Good by you.
If you want to get in the flock, you can go to getintheflock.com. And of course, as I mentioned to you on that page too, will be a link to the tickets for the upcoming game against the Bucks. And yeah, if this is going to be a historic season, Adam, you need to get in on that.
Yeah, I mean, how sad would it be if you didn't get in and be a little flocker and amongst our community and we go on and do what we're going to do and win the Super Bowl?
You'd be a part of it.
Yeah, exactly. This is the time. The time is now.
Time.
Yeah.
And a congrats to two people in the Ring of Honor who were the winners of the Pick'em League this week, Adam. It was Jess Julia Murrier, who is Leo, with the 11 points, and also getting 11 points, DK Manbun, who's Ro.
DK Manbun cracks me up, man. I don't even have commentary on that. That just makes me happy on the inside. He deserves a win. Now, as far as Leo winning, the only thing I can figure, do you give him the same sort of prize that we usually give out now because of the trade wars? Because we should probably have a trade war with, he's from either Norway or Sweden, right?
Or he may be in France, though.
Oh, did he move?
I always have a hard time because he lives in one of the countries that he's not from.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, trade war. He doesn't get the same kind of prize that you normally would without paying a tariff.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure and send an extra prize to Ro since she was the one that was tied with Leo. So it just might work out that she gets the better of the two prizes.
Ro deserves all the prizes all the time because she's awesome.
Yeah. When it was 2 people from the Ring of Honor at the top of the pack this month, I knew I didn't have to go and check the tiebreaker.
No. Nope. Because we all knew.
All knew.
Yeah, they weren't picking against our Hawks. One of the few games I got right this week. Good freaking God.
Hey, I had my worst week too, Adam.
Well, hooray.
Still got 9 picks, but it was my worst week.
God, you still made ground on me. The Eagles screwed me. Who else screwed me? Lots of teams screwed me. The Jets screwed me.
Well, you and I both picked the Eagles. We both picked the Cowboys.
Yeah. A lot of unpredictability in the league this week.
Wait, did you let the Falcons screw you?
I can't remember. Who did the Falcons have?
The Cardinals.
Oh yeah, Falcons screwed me.
Picking against the Falcons has been my go-to, and I bet I've picked up at least 4 games on you this season by just picking against the Falcons.
Okay, so the two teams that have screwed me the hardest this year, easily, by far, without question, the Falcons and the fucking Broncos. Every time I pick them to win, nope. Every time I pick them to lose, nope. I can't wait to rub it in. Like, the only solace I have for that with the Broncos is I can't wait to rub it into our buddy Jared's face about how they should have sucked for the first or second pick, but yet they're somehow going to end up with the 15th pick and finish 6-10.
Yeah, all the quarterbacks will be gone by then. Drew Lock isn't going to be any good.
Well, here's a question. So the Rams just give up, 49 picks for Jalen Ramsey to try to get better, quote unquote. How many picks would you give up for Von Miller right now? Because if the Broncos are going to do Von Miller right, they trade him to a contender so he can go on and try to get another chip out of respect because they're going nowhere. They can, try to build up their war chest to go forward and maybe, waste them on draft picks like John Elway always does.
I don't know if I'd be willing to give up what it would take to get Von Miller. I think...
Does a first and a third not get it done?
Ooh, maybe. I don't know. If they got Von Miller for a first and a third, I'm in. But what if you could get a guy like Chris Harris for a third?
Well, there's no way they're giving up Chris Harris for a third.
I think he's in the last year of his deal.
Yeah. Is he unhappy?
It sounded like it earlier.
Yeah, I guess so. I think you'd have to give up at least a second for Harris.
I think a third would do it because if they're not going anywhere...
So who you benching then? You benching Trey Flowers?
No, Chris Harris is your nickel.
You're benching Jamar... So you give a second round or a third round pickup for a nickel corner you never play because you're always in base defense?
Then you wouldn't have to play base defense all the time.
But that's not what they're going to do.
If they have Chris Harris on the field, Michael Kendricks is getting significantly less playing time.
You feel strongly on that one?
I do.
Okay, maybe. But I do know where we could use some help as pass rush. Way more than corner.
True. What? Jaron Reed's coming back this week?
Understood. But I could use a little more, twitch on the edge.
That would be a heck of a rotation.
Yes, it would.
That almost seems unfair.
First and a third, John. What are you doing? And I'm saying that to the Elway John, not the Schneider John.
Both Johns, get it done.
Yeah. This could be an all Johns trade. Let's go.
Hey, let's recognize a couple reviews that came in. One that says the best Seahawks podcast, no doubt. After listening to many NFL and Seahawks podcasts, I can say that without reservation, this is the gold standard in entertainment and analysis. The audio quality is professional, and the two hosts have perfect chemistry.
Aw, I feel like we do have perfect chemistry, Brandon.
We do. We've only known each other since kindergarten. That's like 35 years.
Yeah, I almost like you so much.
I almost like you too.
Aw. That's a very kind review, though. I appreciate that. The gold standard feels a little high, maybe like the silver standard.
Sure.
Yeah, I take that.
A review from Australia says, great catch-all Seahawks breakdown. This is a great podcast to keep up to date with all the ins and outs of the NFC West best team. From OTAs to training camp and the preseason to the postseason, capturing all big moments and underrated details. Get a week-to-week roster update and expectations of Russell Wilson and company going into games, encasing major views of important football strategy. A great listen for 12 fans and especially love the post-reaction segments to games, helps the breakdown and moments missed. What a great podcast. And remember, go Hawks.
Hey, go Hawks, man, from down under. Look, sounds like he might do a better job at this than me. If you want to replace, a host on this, I would understand.
That one sounded professionally written. I think we need like an official podcast writer, and that might have to go to our reviewer here.
Yeah, there we go. Because we have Clinton Bonner doing the 3 ins, 3 outs. Maybe this is our next guy in our entire podcast empire.
It sounds like it. There's some writing skills here for sure.
There are. Yeah, which I respect because I once wrote an English paper or a paper for my journalism professor my senior year. The professor's last name Brown. He was the head of the journalism school from the South. And he looks at me as he hands everybody their papers back. And he just puts it down. I still to this day don't know exactly what this means. But he looks at me. He's like, Emmert, you're dumber than a glass bottom frog in a rock or a creek bottom. Like, what the
Catfish!
does that mean? Like,
I
still don't know.
bottom frog in a crick bottom?
Yep, in a rocky creek bottom. That's what it was. Yeah. You're dumber than a glass bottom frog in a rocky creek bottom. Still to this day, I don't know what it means, but when I heard him say it,
Yeah.
it wasn't good.
You felt the sting a little bit?
I did, because I can't write to save my life.
What are you doing taking journalism in college?
I don't know. I thought maybe I'd have a newspaper job when I got out. And then those disappeared, it turns out.
As it turns out, yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're a podcaster.
Right. Podcasters are writers who can't write, and photographers, which was my other gig, are artists who can't draw.
Well, speaking of things that sting a little, but do you remember that Herder review from a few months back?
I guess. Okay. Yeah.
Where there was one point of the review where it was saying like Herder, Adam Emmert, something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the dude is still listening and leaving reviews for whatever reason.
Oh, okay. Does he got a good one for me?
It's not...
Because I felt a little herder the last few podcasts, so if he goes there again, I wouldn't even be mad.
Well, the review isn't even that important to me. It's just the fact, what does it say about someone if they think the podcast is worth a 1-star review 6 months ago, but they continue to listen to the point that they can still point out common themes of the show to negatively review it?
Well, let's hear it, man. We read them all, the good and the bad. Like, what's Mr. Herder have to say today?
It says, Adam, I frickin' love science. Here's a pop culture science article for my Better at Life. Also, Adam, PFF are nerds who don't know anything despite them doing incredible amounts of film study while I barely watch anything besides Seahawks from my phone in a Motel 6. The guy thinks completion percentage equals accuracy. He's a fake smart guy who has a lot of hardline opinions that he bases on 80s football philosophy and cliches. Dumb, borderline, alcoholic Gen Xer.
Okay, well, to his credit, he has some things correct. I'm a dumb, borderline, alcoholic Gen Xer. Correct. He's not wrong there. That's fine.
You're on the very lowest of the borderline, though. Like, your toe isn't even near the line. But you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it in the distance. It could be coming up there if I decided to drink hard alcohol, which I just won't do.
Right.
But so that's fine. As far as the PFF guys are concerned, like, hey, man, like, I get it. Like, they do go through and watch a lot of film, and they have their methods for scoring things, and that's okay. I just don't always agree with the way that they score things. Funny side note, I don't always just watch the Seahawks, and occasionally, yes, it's on my phone, but never at a Motel 6. See, now that's where that kind of catches my ire right there.
that digs at you just a little bit.
That digs at me a little bit. I'll have him know that I am a Diamond Platinum member of Best Western, okay? Like, I'm a kind of a big deal when it comes to travel. So that's fine. He's just wrong there. He's hit or miss with the review.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that he's still listening. Now, the idea that he doesn't like the fact that I'm into running the ball, stopping the run, that sort of thing, and not into pinball, scoring. And, well, that game, the Chiefs and the Rams last year, where everybody thought the entire league had been revolutionized. Yeah. I'm not into that crap. Sorry, I enjoy defense. I don't think I need to defend that. It's going to be fine. But I appreciate him writing in again, and I appreciate the next time that he writes in after he continues listening. I must be entertaining enough.
Enough to always get to your science better at lifes.
Yeah, and dude, the fact that he's in with the science better at lifes, like, I think we'd get along over a non-alcoholic beverage.
I feel like he was digging at you, though, because that your only better at lifes are pop culture science articles.
Oh, well, he'll get ready for my do better this week because it's a pop culture reference. So, yeah, good luck.
Enjoy.
Or don't. And then write another review about how I'm a terrible podcast. That's fine.
Because we do read all of these reviews, it's just funny that, when I see a username, I go, gosh, that looks familiar, because we have, 5 1-star reviews. So the ones that are terrible, usually stick in my mind a little bit. I'm like, I recognize that name. Sure enough, I look back in the show notes, and there was the original review.
Hey, thanks for continuing to listen. Maybe you ought to get in the flock and support my ass.
He's probably freeloader status at this point. He's probably beyond his 2-year grace period. John, you're beyond your 2-year grace period by this point, I think.
I think you've nailed it here. I think that he feels guilty about the fact that he's been a freeloader for this long. And so to try to cover up that pain on the inside.
This show stinks.
Well, no, not this show, just me.
Oh.
Which is okay. It's okay. It's going to be okay, buddy. It's going to be fine.
One email that I know I have to read this week. And, I don't know if I read John Davison's email as the Bard every week if he doesn't sign it as the Bard. Do I have to do the voice every week, or is it just when he signs it as the Bard?
I'm going to give you creative license on that. You do you.
Hi, fellas. Well, we are 5-1. And that is great, but I feel we are still going under the radar compared to other teams. But while it's great to be at that, it's only the Arizona game where I've been calm. Not watching it doesn't help either when you're looking at the graphic when you're looking at... See, I need to do the voice, don't I?
Maybe that's what brings it all together for you. It flows better for you when you are John Davidson the Bart, not John Davidson... dude from Montana.
Not watching it doesn't help either when you are looking at the graphic of a field on ESPN.
See, it works so much better.
There were times when I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I was so pleased when the game ended. Goodness knows that when we are going to be like that when we start to play well. Maybe this week when Reed comes back. I hope so. Just been watching Sky, and they had a public vote on who should be the game at 9 p.m. Sunday, and the fantastic British public voted for a Seattle-Baltimore game, so looking forward to that. Saw the Niners on Sunday, and 6-0 is usually the time when these teams blow up, but I'm not sure they're going to do that. I am trying to have football conversations with Barry, but it's difficult when you are catfish! But he was happy when Miami dropped it. He had a knee op this week, and won't play Sunday. I am optimistic that we will keep winning, and we will blow someone away, so go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Now, does that mean Barry's having a knee operation?
Yeah, and he won't play Sunday?
Well, I mean, you can watch from the hospital room, right? Or maybe the operation is during a Redskins game. Well, I guess that doesn't matter. I actually honestly feel for Barry. Just the idea he's a fan of the Skins, and they're just always going to suck as long as Daniel Snyder is a live person.
Now's the time, Barry. Your knee operation should mark the time of making the transition. I feel like it should give him license.
I think it should too.
I've got a new knee. Now I need a new team.
And he can even make up a story because, oftentimes when you change your fandom, or for the few that do, for legit reasons, right? Like usually you've been kicked in the nads enough times where you're just like, I can't do this no more. He can make up a story about how he had a near-death experience during the knee operation, and he saw the light, and a Seahawk came down and cleansed his chakra while he was under the knife. And he arose a new man from the operation. New knee, new fandom, more wins. Come on, Barry, it's time.
Come on, Barry, join the flock.
It's been ordained.
I'm glad it's time, and he has an excuse.
Yeah. But to John's point regarding the fact that he doesn't feel confident in the Niners folding going down the stretch, I can see why he feels that way, because they're playing football in a way that is the right brand of football to generate wins, at least through the regular season.
All right, Adam. Well, what do you say we get on to some do better and better at life?
Okay, cool. My do better this week, Brandon, is for People Magazine. That's right. This is Captain Herder is gonna be mad about this pop culture reference here, but I'm scrolling through my Apple News feed, and for whatever reason, the People Magazine thing pops up every now and then. Right? Mm-hmm. Headline: Eva Mendes gets haircut at Supercuts. Details it on social media. What kind of stupid catfish is this? All right. Number one, like the idea that the celebrity has decided to come and slum with us commoners and have her haircut at a lowly Supercuts. Like, I mean, like what kind of, they act like she went on some sort of hunger strike or something. Okay. Like she did something like really amazing to, make herself one of the people.
So they're giving her credit for this?
Oh, yeah, I didn't click on the article. I'm just assuming they did. But just the headline caught my eye so much. Like the idea that getting your hair cut at Supercuts was like that you might as well be like contracting herpes. Like while you do it.
It's worth a mention at least that.
Well, they act like the whole thing is like she basically had her hair cut in an alley by a bum. Okay, like that's the way that they put it. And then to show that she's so real and part of the people. And I like Eva Mendes, by the way, like, good actress. I applaud. But she details it on social media like, oh, my stars, I'm not going to overpay by $500 for a freaking haircut and go and just get it cut like among the people. Like, oh, thank you for humbling yourself and being one of us. People Magazine, Eva Mendes, like this whole thing. Freaking stupid. Do better.
This is what tells me that maybe People Magazine is in trouble, because if they're taking this as like some kind of what is it when they take ads but they're not really ads?
Advertorial?
It's something that's pretending to be an ad but it's not.
It's pretending to be an ad but it's written to be a news story?
It's when like Supercuts is paying them to do an ad about her getting her hair cut there.
Yeah, guess what that's called, Brandon? Because I have a degree in journalism. Yeah, advertorial. That's what I wrote my senior paper on. That my instructor looked at me and told me I was dumber than a glass bottom frog than a rocky creek bottom. Okay.
Man, you should have gotten to go to grad school because you were seeing the future of journalism.
Hey, man, I thought I was cutting edge right there. But People Magazine's in trouble. Like, come on, man. Like, what? Like, it's so bad to get your hair cut at Supercuts. You know where I go? The cheapest ass place to get my hair cut, because it all goes under a hat and who gives a crap? It's like, we all have those little things we hate spending money on. Like, I've got a friend who hates spending money on like razor blades. It just chaps him.
Yeah.
Like every time he buys razor blades, just fries him. Another guy, wiper blades. Same thing. Like every time he has to buy wiper blades, it just, he'll let him like rot off the freaking arm of his wiper blade, right? Before he'll finally buy wiper blades, because it just feels like the dumbest money in the world to spend. That's how I feel about haircuts.
Native advertising. That was the word that I was trying to come up with.
Yeah, that's a newfangled millennial term for advertorial.
It is. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, my do better this week is football related.
Okay.
And it's because the NFL has a problem. Officiating has become a major focus of the 100th anniversary of the NFL. And I don't know if they're going to be able to make this problem that they have go away. And I look at the officiating in the Monday Night Football game, that 2 illegal hands to the face penalties called on Trey Flowers in key moments to the game.
Other Trey Flowers, by the way.
Yes, the Detroit Lions defensive lineman, Trey Flowers. But, I have that connection because I hear his name and, kind of when your ears perk up, like you hear somebody say your name or like when you're in a crowd of kids and somebody goes, Dad. And it's not your kid, but you're like, You're looking around because your name's Dad. You're like
Scooby-Doo. You're like, whoa, Shaggy, Trey Flowers.
So we saw those penalties, directly impact the Lions. And it seems like it's all that people are talking about in talk radio is these penalties. And it's not just that game on Monday night, but, as we spent some time on officiating in this podcast, and, that we've seen the challenges that the teams have had with trying to figure out the pass interference rules. It doesn't seem to be working with the rule change in the offseason. And so now you're starting to hear this term sky judges. And we've thrown around the term. We've talked about the sky judges.
Mm-hmm.
As I think about it more, Adam, though, I think sky judges is a terrible term. It's too elitist.
Oh.
We need to call them couch judges.
Oh, armchair judges?
No, just couch.
Okay, couch. All right, I'm with you on couch.
You got a dude sitting on the couch. And one of the reasons I think this is that we also have to get away from this idea of officials looking at tiny screens to try and decide this. Because most people at home, you got a 50-inch, a 60-inch, maybe you have a projector where it's 120 inches. We have big screens to watch this on. But yet we watch the officials. They trot out the little Microsoft Surface 11-inch screen to the field to hold up to the referee on the field. That's not good enough. Everybody else is seeing it in much bigger replay. So we also need to put one of these officials in front of a large screen, put him on the couch. He can be one of us, someone we can relate to. So, Adam, for this idea of sky judges, we need to change this all around. Do better.
I'm with you there. I actually had a conversation today regarding the officials in just the idea of how absurd it is that they're not paid as like full-time employees and it's not their like one and only job.
It's kind of weird.
It's freaking ridiculous. All right. I mean, your product out on the field relies on the players doing their jobs, the coaches doing their jobs, and the officials doing their jobs well. And when the officials a few years ago decided that, hey, we want to get paid full time and actually be able to devote our lives to this so we can do a hell of a job, you know what the NFL said to them?
No.
Don't show up to work. We got some scabs to put in there. Right? Because the billionaire owners of the league couldn't be bothered to pay their officials as full-time employees. Are you freaking kidding me?
And think about it, too. Think about if the referees can go and scout players during the week for some of their tendencies. If they know David Bakhtiari knows how to reach his head back when he's getting pushed in the shoulder pad to make it look like he's getting an illegal hands to the face, the refs can recognize that. And they can go, okay, I need to make sure to kind of ignore those types of movements unless I physically see hand on face mask.
Right.
They have the scouting down. They could take all week to do that kind of work.
Absolutely. Can you imagine how much better things would be? And then pay some guy on the couch to be the couch official like you're talking about.
It can be Ed Hockley, who's retired now.
Or we could take this next level and it could be because oftentimes in Montana, somehow I can see the replay before everybody else that's, an official and know what the call is. Like, we not being on the field and in a state with like 15 people. Like, why not take that and everybody that watches the play during a review? This would be faster, by the way. We do a quick poll of whether or not that was pass interference or not, or whatever. And then we'll crowdsource it. Now the fan is a part of the game.
Right. That could get interesting. I do like the edge of having, Seattle and Microsoft kind of behind our side on when it comes to these particular moments. It could end up being San Francisco and Seattle in a vie for who gets the tech vote or the
That's
tech
what I'm
crowd
saying. Like, I worry about
best.
the Niners because they could probably hack everything and all of a sudden like every call goes their way.
Right.
Maybe it was a bad idea. I don't know. I just threw it out there.
Well, it's not a much worse idea than I saw somebody say, maybe let the players call the fouls on themselves at this point. It might be better.
Yeah, maybe.
I do like the idea of adding another official, but I think it should be, make him feel like one of the people. Give him Ed Hockley in between sets, like he racks the bench to sit up and then watch the replay, and he gets to make the call.
Only if he does he does the rep right, and he gets done with it, and he does like Brady Quinn in those what was it, vitamin water or muscle milk commercials or whatever, like where he gets done working out, he's like, now I'm done. Does that first.
What was it? I think it was one of those nutrition bars.
Yes. Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, Brandon, my better at life than Skip Bayless this week is for Les Snead, the general manager of the Los Angeles Rams. mortgaging 5 years of the Rams' future on a bunch of guys who can't get it done right now. This is great. Trading 2 firsts and a fourth for Jalen Ramsey? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for making sure that we will be kings of this division for the next 5 years. Can you imagine if John Schneider had mortgaged away 5 years of first-round picks over the last 2? Would you be freaking out a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. For guys like Ramsey, who's not guaranteed to re-sign with you, he's going to be a head case when he's on your team. So you traded Peters the head case for Ramsey the head case? Congratulations. This is great. I just enjoy the way that the Rams are imploding. Their offensive line is in shambles. They have a backup center from the Browns they're pinning their hopes on at this point. And they don't have a draft pick to try to fill in for the fact that their quarterback stinks. Their running back is old, prematurely old. And they have no chance to get better going forward. Thank you, Les Snead. You're a scholar and a genius, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Not shocking. I go to NFL.com to read the story. And the winners and losers of this Rams and Jacksonville trade listed under the winners column, the Rams, listed under the losers, the Jaguars.
Whoever wrote that column needs a reprimand because under winners should be the Seahawks.
And even the 49ers to an extent.
Yeah, I know, but
Catfish!
Well, my better at life this week, Adam, to close this out, is another Seattle team. The Seattle Dragons.
Ooh, I'm glad you wait here.
For drafting 2 of my favorite former Seahawks wide receivers, because the XFL draft, they had their first couple rounds here on Tuesday, and looking at the receivers, Kasen Williams and Keenan Reynolds. Karen, welcome back to Seattle. You never left.
Yeah. Time to get on that season ticket thing, right?
Got to get season tickets. Got to get my custom Seattle Dragons Karen jersey.
Yeah.
Just got to wait and see what number he's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
See if it's still number 18.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome, man. I appreciate the fact that they brought in a couple of local guys.
I like that idea. That was one of the things that I liked about the AAF, that they seem to be kind of regional teams. And I think that's kind of where they're going with this, with the XFL too. So it's a good, I like that they took it that way. Jim Zorn is the head coach of the Seattle team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I'd forgotten.
Oh, you're just not following close enough.
No, I'm not. But you know how closely I am following? I like scrolled through the draft picks.
Yeah.
Willie Beavers picked up somewhere.
Hey, he's still around.
Yeah. That made me happy.
Yeah, it wasn't Seattle, though.
No, but I did see a few ex-Seattle players picked up in the XFL, and that was kind of fun.
Hey, Kristen Michael went from the Seahawks to the Battlehawks of St. Louis.
Well, I hope they enjoy a guy who can't switch hands with the ball.
I think it'll be fine. It's the XFL.
I don't know. I'm kind of hoping the XFL is a success.
Well, I'll enjoy some spring football if it's good.
Yeah, give some guys some opportunities. I like it.
I mean, Kasen Williams is enough to win me over alone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks.